It's February the 28th, 2024, and you know why you're here, so let's kick this off right and introduce the players. Hey, I am Jarisar, a WoW esports aficionado.
Hey guys, I'm Big Moran, the most dominant role player of all time.
Hey guys, I'm Treesep Jake, and I've been tweeting the devs for about half a year.
Oh my god, yes.
That's quite eclectic.
Hey,
So,
I'm Eddy, man. I play RPG.
And Drew, what do you do?
Oh, I'm a content creator. Gonna have to challenge Big Moran on that RP thing because I'm also known for as Andalore the Paladin on YouTube, where I roleplay in RBGs.
You're Andalore.
Oh wait, someone else knows me?
I thought that was somebody else when I was watching that YouTube video.
No, that was me.
That was you. Oh my gosh.
It is I.
We come prepared to these things, don't we? We do our research. We really like look into people's interests and what they're doing. Like this is not new information. We totally knew this the entire time, right, Garrison?
Exactly. Yeah, I was just
We totally
testing
knew.
you guys. I was just testing you.
I mainly do RBG PvP video content, but Andalore is also like a side thing I do.
Well, Andalore is welcome, as are you.
Thank
That
you.
is awesome. I feel like I stole Big's thunder though. Usually I have him introduce the guests.
You know, sometimes things go wrong, right? Happy little accidents. And you just have to roll with it.
Indeed.
read out.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
we
could
know it.
do a proper one too, you know, because I am quite famous in the EU community after all, you know. No, but just to be serious, I'm Eddy, and I hosted the Method Mayhem tournaments.
Mhm.
Most of you probably know that, and I play on SVTV, the highest European team. We are playing on the American team, or the latter two as well. So I'm very excited for this episode, and I'm glad to be here. Like to you guys allowing me as well. Like it seems like a cool show, and yeah, I watched the one with Bobby as well. So yeah, I'm really excited actually.
Indeed. This is I'm actually very excited because it took us a while to try to line this up there, Eddie. So
Yeah.
I'm super excited to have you here. I think Drew though, I think aside from playing RPGs and RPing as Andalore, I don't know, anything else you want to say about yourself before we punch into the rest of this show?
Well, I also do RBG review class videos where it's like a comedy review video of I pick a spec in a class, I play it in RBGs, and I give a review of it. And I'm also an editor for Easy Game and Barn Door.
Yes.
Ooh, an editor, nice.
That's
Video
awesome.
editor.
I'm actually pretty not to talk about too many other things and off topic. I'm actually very glad that Barn Door has returned back to streaming and whatnot after his little break away. So I really enjoy his content. So thank you so much for doing such a great job on making his content look so good. So,
Thank you.
well done. Well, on that, I think maybe we should, because we have quite the episode. We're going to be talking about RBGs and Battleground Blitz. So that's going to be quite the discussion. So how about if we roll first into the need, greed, and pass and see what Big has come up with for our discussion today.
This likely won't be a clean fight, so keep your distance, eh?
All right, on to you there, Big. What's the need, greed, and pass for this this episode?
Yeah, so as a reminder, in this segment, I'm going to give you a question, and from a list of answers, you're going to have to need one, greed one, and pass on one. So basically, what's your first choice, second choice, and then what are you throwing away? So I'm going to be asking you guys, if you could only play one RBG map for the rest of your life, so only one, which one of the maps would you need, which one would you greed, and which one would you, well, I guess you're going to be passing the rest of them, so I guess there's no pass. But anyway, so which ones do you need and greed? We'll start with, actually, I'll start with Garrison. Garrison, what's your favorite RBG map?
My favorite RBG map. Ooh, this is tough. So to do this, I'm going to pick as a role that I've been playing most recently in PvP and doing BGs this last season, which is the Vengeance Demon Hunter. So the one that I like playing the most as the Vengeance Demon Hunter, I'm actually going to say Silver Shard Mines. I really enjoy doing that. Because then I can roll up on the top. Sometimes I can quickly jump down and help out in some other areas. But I feel like you can move around a lot and be impactful doing that. So that's going to be my need. And then my greed, I'm going to say Twin Peaks. I do enjoy a good Twin Peaks. So, let's see here. I'm going to throw that one to Drew, though. I feel like Drew has some... Which map does Andalore like to play the most?
Andalore the Paladin, well, me or Andalore? Because that's two different answers.
Okay, you.
Okay, me. Depends on the class I'm playing, but my main is a Death Knight, so I'm gonna do it from the Death Knight perspective. I'm gonna need on Battlefield Gilneas. I'm gonna greed on either Warsong or Twin Peaks, probably Twin Peaks. And pass, like if I had to remove one, it would be Deepwind. Just because the map's too big.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah, how about we'll
I
do
don't
that?
hate
So
it.
the pass now will be the one we want to remove.
Oh.
That's
Okay. Do I have to go back and remove one then?
yeah, remove one really quick, Aerosar. Which one don't you like?
I must just say Battlefield for Gilneas.
What?
Yeah.
What?
I mean,
What?
It's too small. It's too quick. You fight. You cap 2 nodes. Everybody fights over one, and as soon as you lose that one, it's pretty much game over.
I guess it's like less BS happens on Gilneas. That's why I like it the most.
Sure. Yeah, fair.
Maybe if I would main to stealthy, I would have a different perspective or something. But you know.
Mm-hmm. On to you, Eddie. I think you're about to jump in there.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's quite obvious. As a main tank as well, I mean, I'm very happy you like Vengeance. Respect. Please don't nerf us. But I would say Warsong Gulch. I think that has the highest skill expression for a Demon Hunter tank. As you can use the base a lot to kite, and it's very good for like lining and stuff. But my greed would be Twin Peaks, because again, flag web, like you can hear I'm very biased, right? And the pass, I think there would be Eye of the Storm. I think it's very chaotic, and some of the bases are not so well designed, so it's very hard to defend. An example is Mage Tower, for example. It's very easy to ink there. So stuff like that, I think would balance out the game more. But yeah, that's my need greed pass.
I like them. I think Jake, you're the only one that hasn't.
yeah. You save the best for last, of course.
I think Big still has to go.
Oh,
Yeah,
big!
that's
Exactly. So I didn't. Did I stutter, Garrison? Did I stutter? I said what I said. I said what I said. Anyway, no. I think for me, it's an interesting one. So if I'm getting my sort of facts right on this one, my pass is my remove. I'm gonna start with my pass just to be a little bit edgy. It would have been Seething Shore. Hated that map. Hated it more than anything I've ever played, and I played so much of it in Shadowlands and in BFA. I hated it so much. So although it's not obviously in the rotation anymore, that would have been the only one I'd ever get rid of, and it's gone. So I've actually got my dream, which is great. So that was a horrible map to play. But if I was to choose one that is in current rotation, I'd probably say I'm really not a fan of. I'm going to go with to be honest, Twin Peaks. I'm not a massive fan of Twin Peaks. I think I've had some horrible memories there of leading pugs. So I will say that that's the one to go. If I was to choose current rotation, I think need wise, I'm actually going to need Battle of Gilneas. I love Gilneas mostly because it's a DPS fest, and there's always some interesting tactics you can do, and it's very much like a team. Yeah. It's just a team fight map, and I love team fighting. I've always enjoyed team fighting, and I remember when I first really got into RBGs and I was playing Enhanced Shaman and WoD, and you just shred people in team fights. And it was really fun. I always used to pride myself on how many kicks I'd get, and that was always something that was really interesting for me. So definitely going to need Battle of Gilneas, and I'd probably greed Warsong Gulch because it's a classic, and I think. You're kind of agreeing with Eddie there. Like it's a really great place for pretty much all classes, all specs to kind of come into their own and sort of test the limits of what they can do in an RBG. I think it's a really great map that kind of like allows you to do lots of different things and kind of engage in a different way. So yeah, that's I like those ones. So that'd be my Need, Greed, and Pass.
I like it. Hey, Big, you started it. You get to finish it.
Yeah, so I'm gonna need on Warsong Gulch. I think it's
Ooh.
the coolest map in World of Warcraft. And I'm taking this from the perspective of someone who's pretty much only played Rogue and like Druid in RBGs. And I always like flag carry maps from like the Rogue perspective, for instance. Lots you can do to impact the game. I'm gonna greed on Silver Shard Mines. I think it's I think it has the highest potential to be the most exciting BG.
Mhm.
When it comes to like those, there's this old meme that like Bailamos, I'm kind of giving my age here, would like take out a ruler and measure like the distance between the carts to figure out which one is like capping first. In that last minute where it's like, shit, which cart do we go to? I always like that feeling of, and like being able to like swap the carts. I always thought that tech was really cool.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna greed on Silver Shard. I'm actually gonna remove Arathi Basin. Never been a fan of this
Whoa.
map ever. Like RBGs or not RBGs. I just think it's way too big. That's kind of I like Gilneas way more just because it's a bit simpler. Less going on. I did like the old Deepwind Gorge. I really liked
Yeah.
that before they redid it.
Yeah.
I don't know, because now it's basically like Arathi Basin version 2. But
I
if
think
that
it's
was still in the
worse
game,
in terms of size.
yeah, it's just kind of it's awkward to like navigate. It's like I don't know.
The
So
original one was really interesting, but
Mhm.
but the only reason why they took it out is because you just ended up sort of having teams just sort of like you'd be fighting for that first cart, and if you didn't get that first cart, like you just AFK out. Like it was pretty much kind of or if you didn't get the two bases or something along that, I can't remember exactly what it was, but I remember there being a very specific reason. And it was just pointless playing it. So I think that's people complained about it, but it was such a cool concept. I wish they'd
Mhm.
do something similar in the future.
it's always fun, like slowing the cart carrier, like just harassing them. There's like so many ways you could do that, and so that
Yeah.
was really fun. I'm imagine Vengeance is probably the reason why they reworked that
That's
map.
exactly why they did
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean the mids had developed into double vengeance, right? So even if you had two bases, you could run the cards faster than the points accumulating, right? So, but the
yeah,
design was cool, right? Because as you mentioned, like it allowed for not just like the fight on the base, but also the fight for like the card as well. Like it's more objectives than just like we have one goal, right? So in that case, it's cool. But yeah, it was very chaotic.
yeah. And one potential map that I think a lot of people would probably put in their need or greed would be oh shoot, the ball map. I don't know what's I don't remember.
Temple of
Kyle
Kotmogu.
Yeah, Temple.
yeah.
I think that's players tend to have a lot of fun on that one. I've never been that big a fan of it, but I think that's another like fan favorite, generally speaking. But yeah.
I guess it depends. If you're a
Yeah.
masochist, I think you love it. So
Well,
um,
no, I think Caught Mogu is I'm sorry about the dogs. I think
don't be. We love
it
dogs.
really depends on the team you have. If you have a team that knows how to stick together, then Caught Mogu and went to split, like in those rare instances, then I think Caught Mogu is really fun. But if you're pugging it, then
Yeah.
then it's a nightmare. So I think it really depends on the people you're playing with.
Yeah. YOLO No Voice Temple is it's a poop show. That's all.
Yeah. Everyone's going left, and then some guys go right, and it's just like, well.
I mean that already exists. It's called BG Blitz.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's funny because it's true. Yes. All right. Well, I like all these answers. I will admit I completely forgot about Seething Shore until somebody mentioned it. I completely erased that one from my mind. That's how
What
much
about
I
Strand of
actually
the
wish.
Ancients?
Oh God, bring
Ooh.
that back, please.
What about Strand of the Ancients?
Oh, I want that back. I want that back. Oh,
I've done enough rough to say I think it needs to stay where it is.
Okay. Was it? I know it was removed because Blizzard said they couldn't balance it. But was that because they couldn't balance it for RBGs or for randoms? Because if it's just for RBGs, I would say bring it back for just have it available for randoms like Seething Shore is right now, and just keep it out of RBG rotation.
I think
Yeah,
what they tried to do is I think there were like lots and lots of different bigger maps, and I don't know whether this is just me spouting fake news, but I'm fairly sure there was something along the lines of they couldn't do it, and they already had quite a few like big maps, so they just kind of decided to keep it to like Alterac, Art of Conquest, and then Strand sort of just kind of disappeared because it was like the one that everyone ticked off. You know, when you could like choose which BGs you wanted to queue in random, and you could like tick them off like it would never appear. And I think pretty much everyone ticked off Strand of the Ancients, and they just were like, "Well, there's no
Were
point
those
doing it."
Alliance players? Because I remember seeing a statistic that Horde won 80% of the time in that BG.
I mean,
Probably
you're right.
was.
You're probably right. Absolutely.
It's an Alliance conspiracy. I knew it.
I honestly think it was a matter of how much dev time they need to put in to keep up with the modifiers to the stats of players and how that modified the stats of the demos to the walls. And I think it was just too much effort and work that's why they took it away, because they were always falling behind. You start the expansion and it all feel balanced, and after season 2 and two seasons of gear and stats and everything, the demos would either stream forward and run through the walls like they were paper, or the demos would just flop because the damage was too high and you couldn't heal them or repair them or anything, and then it just became one-sided. So
yeah, I do feel that in what's it called, Island of Conquest. Yeah.
Same Warsun Gulch. It's the same. Warsun Gulch actually feels a little bit better though. I think they've kept on top of it, but I think they've ignored everything else.
What do you mean Warsun Gulch?
Or not, sorry, Winter Grasp.
Oh, okay.
That map, I don't know. I still feel that map is unbalanced because main reason is because that map is not designed to be a 40 versus 40. It was designed to be an 80 versus 80 at least.
True. Yeah, it's just a bit big for the number of players you have. So if you fall behind, it's hard to catch back up. Although it can be done. It can be done. All right. On that though, I think that pretty much covers the Need, Greed, and Pass. For all those playing at home, just a reminder, head on over to the Discord and drop your answers into our channel there on which one you would need, greed, and pass. And in the meantime, let's figure out what the upcoming PvP events are.
Get in there and fight! Stop hiding!
All right, so upcoming WoW PvP events, pretty much just the main Blizzard ones for now. We have the AWC Gauntlet and the Mid-Season Clash. Is happening this weekend, starting on the 1st of March. So that's going to start with the Gauntlet, where all the people that didn't get, I think, the top 4 spots are fighting, maybe the top 3 spots, and then it goes through the Gauntlet, where the team that wins out of the Gauntlet will fill the 4th spot, and then it'll be a weekend of just mayhem of AWC. And then on the 8th of March is the MDI Global Finals. So it's going to be the dungeon races of the people that have won those the Group A and Group B. So it should be some fun things. And as far as I know, that's going to cap the main Blizzard events for Season 3. And then when Season 4 launches, we'll roll in and see 2 more group matches for MDI and 2 more cups for the AWC, followed up by those finals. So should be pretty fun to see that. I think that's about it for actual events, though, unless anybody knows of anything that I missed. Bueller?
No.
All right.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty much it. I know OTK was planning to do an event, but then it got delayed. So we'll have to see when that happens.
Do we know why? Has anyone seen? I know Tips Out mentioned they couldn't possibly do it, but I feel like there has to be a reason, right? Like, you don't just cancel an event like that.
I don't know for certain. Just basically the way they made it sound like is that they couldn't put the resources to it that would make it feel as epic as they like to make their events feel. So they're just delaying it for now until they can make it look and feel the way they want it to. So, all right. Well,
maybe they rushed in or something like that. Maybe there was a rush.
Maybe, or I don't know. Maybe Asmongold wants to put up more false news content and rip on retail for a little bit longer before he gets enough money to support the
buy Blizzard.
Yeah. Sorry, you're being spicy right now.
He comes out sometimes.
You got that dog in you.
You got that dog.
Let's admit the fact that Asmongold has a very a very singular mindset on how he feels or what he feels about the current retail content and how he would like everything to return back to the original WoW. But
Bring
think
back
what you
Strand
do
of the
is-
Ancients in RBGs.
Yes.
Clip this, send it to him, at him
Oh,
on
you
Twitter
guys.
or X,
oh, you guys,
and
you're
just be
killing
like, Asmongold, what do you think of this?
me. All right, let's get into the subject analysis and talk about BGB and RBGs.
I'm gonna light you up, sweet cheeks.
All right, you guys you're killing me. All right, RBGs. So we all know I mean, they've been around since Cataclysm. We've talked about them enough times on here. 10v10, loads of fun. Make a team of 10, run in there and kill or be killed, or ignore people and do the objectives, and maybe you'll win while everybody else is trying to kill each other and wonder why they're losing. Dragonflight, though, so when we talked about this on previous podcasts, the RBGs really haven't been changed. There hasn't been any new rewards. There isn't any new titles. So, Eddy, from the EU perspective, how's participation been? How does it feel to run RBGs in the EU?
I think participation is definitely getting rough. Also, I think it was back in BFA when they changed the MMR system as well, in which range you could actually get other teams. So if you have a high MMR or just like 300 above the next closest team, you would sit like very long queues. Stuff like this has really put a toll on the bracket, but especially the participation is getting hurt a lot. We still have a lot. I think NA is very alive, actually, especially when you look at the mid-tier teams, maybe not the high-end scene, but for the casual, for sure, at least when you compare to Europe. But I think it's rough, and as you said, rewards could be an incentive. There's many things you could go into, but definitely like something to draw people in would help a lot.
I agree.
I have ideas for that.
All right, go ahead, Drew. First, I want to hear, what's the participation been like at your levels in NA?
Everyone knows a guy who knows a guy you played with. It's like living in Staten Island. I mean, I guess it could be worse, but like, we're getting queues and we're getting games, but like, I just oftentimes, like, if I'm like at the 2100 bracket or 2200 bracket, I'm either fighting a 1900 or 1800 team that can't tell their elbow from their ass, or I'm playing a 2400 big brain 5D chess team that just like is on top of it. I mean, we usually put up a good fight, but I mean, I have beaten those teams before, but still, I just wish that there were more people like around the level I was currently competing at until I get to that higher level. And it just, I don't know, it doesn't feel that different from season, what season are we in? Season 3, right?
Season 3, yeah.
It doesn't feel that different from season 2.
Okay.
In terms of participation, for me at least.
How was season 1? Was that higher?
All season ones are usually high, like in all expansions.
Yeah, fair.
And then you have literally like a 50% drop off. It's actually crazy. But I think season 1 was. I think overall, like, Dragonflight is not bad. I don't know about you, Drew. I don't think it's bad. It's just the people who once were interested are like scared away now, right? And they have no reason to come back because they might already have the titles they need or whatever it is they're looking for, right?
Yeah, that, and also solo shuffle, because it just open. If you're in the game, if you have World of Warcraft open right now, do me a favor, go to the adventure tab, open the rating tab, look at all the rewards you can get on the Mythic raid, and look at all those rewards, all those cosmetics. Now, imagine if you could get all of that from LFR with the same exact drop chance. What would that do to mythic rating?
Mm-hmm.
That's what solo shuffle is.
You're not wrong.
Now I want to be clear. Like solo shuffle is not the main. It's not the sole reason why the 3v3 bracket is why the other brackets are dead. But I do think it was a contributing factor.
I think with solo shuffle and RBGs and threes, I think the biggest problem was that the people that are now sitting in shuffles were just sitting in LFG. Now they might have actually like played a couple of games of threes, and yes, that means they participate in the bracket. Now that everyone's got an actual way, like I don't have to sit. Like I get annoyed. I hate sitting in LFG. I hate sitting in that time. In that time, I'd much rather queue alts with a friend with a random healer from LFG than sitting there on my main for ages looking for someone at the same rating. I would much rather just play alts, because sitting there and wasting time, as we've gotten more adult, we're not 13, 15 anymore. We're not on school holidays. We're working. Well, most of us are working, and we come home and we have like 2 to 3 hours, and you just want you end up playing. Now, admittedly, obviously, solo shuffle for DPS is like half an hour. Like you get 2 games and that's that. But you know what? If you play 2 games each night and you're getting 5 and 1s or 4 and 2s or 6 and 0s, and you're pushing your way up and you get that 2-4 elite title and transmog and everything like that, then fair enough. That's the best way to do it. I think the issue with RBGs, and this is my personal experience that I've had, is that I did so much of it in Shadowlands. I don't know about you guys. I did so much that it just burnt me out. I felt completely and totally burnt, especially when the class balancing got worse and worse and worse. And you'd go into RBGs and threes, and you just feel like my class was good, and now it sucks massively, and you kind of have to re-roll in order to kind of really compete at a higher level. But yeah, that totally burnt me out, and I think pugging really burnt me out for an RBGs, because it is shocking how bad some people are and can't listen to stuff. I don't
Also,
mean that
the commitment, right? Like the time commitment you need to put into it, because you need to gather 10 players, not just 3 for an arena. So it is like you need to put more work into it. That's why usually RPGs is like these small communities. You mentioned it too. You have your friends. You have a reason to be there, right? It's usually a group of friends or somebody you enjoy your time with.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think Blizzard did a much better job in the past incentivizing people to play RPGs, whether it was kind of like, it was almost forced at one point. I believe it was Mist of Pandaria. You had to play at least one RPG to get your full conquest cap for the week. So inevitably people played the bracket. Yes. And then I think in Cataclysm, it was you got the most arena points from RBGs. If you had 2,400 in RBGs, I think you got, I don't remember how the rating system was back then, but I think that's kind of why it's kind of the same concept of 5v5. You got more points from 5v5. So that's why people play the bracket. And so over time, right, as they've kind of changed the conquest system, there's been, less incentive to actually play. And I think during Mist of Pandaria, if I had to guess, that's probably when RBG participation was at its peak, and I think it was because you had to do it. And during that time, if you went to the LFG pane for RBGs, there are so many groups. It was absolutely like crazy. There were so many people just queuing with, they called YOLO RBGs, which just meant like no voice. And so you'd get in a group with a YOLO RBG group, and you'd queue until you won a game, or you can continue queuing. And so it kind of gave you at least some activity all throughout the ladder, because everyone was needing to get that one win for their cap. And so I think that's probably the biggest nail in the coffin in terms of driving participation down, is removing that. And it seems like to have been slowly dwindling since, right? Like, what's the point of playing RPGs when so many people these days are really reward centric?
To follow up on that quickly, Legion was also really good. You could farm the best gear in PvP, because it just dropped by the boxes. So if you were playing PvP, RBG was way better than Arena. So we had a lot of participants in Legion too. It was the easiest way to gear for PvP basically. So Arena players were so you got the boxes right, and it could give you a loot. So you were just looking for the highest item level, because in Legion you had templates, right? So everyone was the same, but and it scaled to 900 eye level, and for every 10 eye level over 900, you gain 1% stat bonus. And in that case, all the PvPers could just play RBG because you just needed to farm the boxes for the gear. So that was really good, I think.
And towards the end of Legion, I remember the highest item level player in the world was ABN, because RBGs gave you the borrowed power thing. I don't remember what it was called, artifact power.
Yep.
And it just scaled your item level infinitely. And he actually had the highest highest item level, which was really funny. So there was these external incentives to play, which have since been removed, and that's obviously going to kill participation.
I think I'm from a philosophy's point of view, I'm against forcing people to play content that they're not interested in, because I remember in BFA, in order to be optimal in PvP, I had to do at least one Mythic 15 every week, and I hated it. And my friend hated it so much, he just quit the game altogether because he does not want to do that. On top of a bunch of other stuff, but that was one of them. I think the main thing Blizzard needs to do with RBGs is add incentive to do it that's not forced, because I think the main incentive block right now for RBGs is that one, as I mentioned before, 99% of the stuff you can earn in RBGs you can just get from solo shuffle 2v2 and 3v3. And the other is that there's no seasonal exclusive reward to it. Like if you got 2.4 in RPGs at any point, it could have been all the way back in Cataclysm, it doesn't matter. That's it. You're done. There's nothing new for you to earn that you can't earn in the other rated brackets.
Mm-hmm.
So what I would do is I would add a seasonal mount to
Reskin.
RBGs.
Just reskin it literally. It's so easy.
That's the thing. And people are saying oh, but it's not as skillful to get 2.4 in RBGs as 3v3 Arena. I don't think RBGs deserve a reward. But Mythic plus Dungeons have a seasonal mount, and that's objectively easier than PvP. I don't care what anyone on Twitter says. If Blizzard really wants to go about it the simplest way, all they have to do is go up to the art department, knock on the door, and say to them, hey, you know that mount you got for the seasonal Mythic Plus? Could you recolor it and put some armor or some spikes on it or some shit? And then we'll sorry, my language. And then we'll use it for the RBG seasonal mount. Okay, thanks. See you on Monday.
Yeah. No. And honestly, they just said why don't they have Jake there, verdant hero of the Alliance? Why couldn't we have seasonal the Alliance or of the Horde?
Right.
I know it
would
kills
be
me
too long.
that they haven't.
That's why I think.
Yeah, it's been too long. One thing I think that would actually probably improve RBG participation would be allowing players that while you're sitting in LFG waiting for the group to load up, trying to get 10 players before you can even start queuing, is still let people go out and do something in the world. But I don't know. I actually interact with the world and get crest
Gorobashi
rewards.
Arena?
Or Gorobashi, sure, but because you're in a raid, nothing counts, right?
I think that's what you meant. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me propose my solution to fixing all of PvP.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Here's how you do it. You take the trading post and you just make it a PvP trading post. You have this tab, and they have a section for RBGs, a section for 2v2, 3v3, solo shuffle, whatever. And you have little bars, and you fill up those bars, and you get rewards for each one of those, parts of the game. I think that's and it could be something cosmetic. It could just be purely cosmetic. Because obviously, people love just riding around on different colored horses, right? We know this. Or it could, one of the rewards could be a black market auction house box, those ones that you can buy, that have something random inside them. There's a lot of ways I think you can incentivize PvP through a trading post type system, and it's clear that players these days play for that trading post, right? It's incredibly popular. I mean, they've said on record that it's a way to drive or to have subscribers keep on resubscribing. And so I think it's proven that some system like that works, and it could be so easy to implement within the ecosystem of PvP, and that would think would be the sustainable way to keep people interested in a bracket like RBGs. If they could have this little bar they could fill up throughout the course of a month.
I really like that idea. I never thought of that. And another idea I had, and that this is kind of a controversial take. I think that if you get in a single season, if you get 2.4 in both 3v3 and RBGs, you get a special token, and with that token, you can buy a seasonal gladiator mount from a season that you missed. That's a hot take. Not everyone's going to be on board with that, but I think that would increase participation.
Yeah, I think did we talk about this last time? I don't remember.
It's
we did.
FOMO,
We had an entire episode about this. It's a hot issue, right? Arizona and I went head to head and we battled it out.
It's
We may
okay
have
if
talked
people
about some
disagree
things.
with me, but I'm just generally against FOMO, and I just think that I should be able to earn the reward at any point as long as the challenge is the same. As long as you don't put it on the trading post or some dumb. I almost cursed again there, but you know what I mean.
Deserved though, deserved.
Right.
Yeah.
Because there's an armor set in Legion that I really want, but I was in graduate school at the time, and I look back and I look at the requirements, you only need a 2K rating. I'm like, I could have gotten that in my sleep. Damn it.
Well, I have a question really quick because I just pulled up the RBG ladder. I've been out of the RBG.
Number one, baby.
Yeah. So I just pulled up the ladder, and one thing I remember checking the RBG ladder in previous expansions, and it usually seemed like the top teams were almost undefeated. But now I'm looking at the ladder, and it's most of the top players have a 60% win loss, maybe a little bit better than that. It's just is competition better, or what's going on? It's just not as many people.
You're looking at the American bracket, right? Just so we're on the same page, right?
Yeah. I guess EU there's higher win rates, but
in NA specifically, I mean, we were also number 1 to 10 there at some point, literally a month ago in this season. But what's usually going on is the 20 names you see on the top are all playing against each other. So usually we used to queue at the same time you started the show on the American bracket. We would whisper the NA top teams. This could be Wee Tyler or Dean or Trolento, people like that, and we would form teams into them. So they would specifically make a team to queue into us, so we had the competitive sides going on. So there would you are bound to lose a lot more when you're only queuing into a good team. So that's why you can see people, how is he the best for 60%, but this guy at 80%, he's winning so much. How is he not the best? Because he's not queuing into he's gaining +2, right? While they're gaining actual games. So the NA participation was really good this season, but Europe we have one team that queues once a week into us or something. So that's about it.
That's funny. The meta shift.
That's why we went NA.
from dodging to intentionally queuing. That's interesting. Because and during the time I played, it was very common for teams to dodge each other. So that's how you got these really high win rates. Is one team would usually, the most dominant team, everyone would dodge them, and they'd get farm 2K teams, or they'd.
When that even happened on ladder when streams first started in AWC or just Arena, where people would see that another team was streaming and playing, and they'd start ladder dodging because they would have counter comps. So they wait until that team was in bracket or in a game, and then they queued so that they would actually keep winning, because otherwise they get hard countered and lose their rating. So I think it happens both ways. Happens all around. And let's be honest, we're talking about a highly competitive ladder where ultimately people are trying to push to get that number one title, to have that prestige of saying, yep, that was me at the top. And a lot of times when you're getting highly competitive in any sport, things sometimes get a little unruly. People will start doing whatever it takes to try to get there and to keep it.
Yeah. Sure.
So I think that's just a bit of matter of humanity. What I kind of want to peel away from, I want to say talking about those topics, but I want to kind of pull back talking about brackets itself. So typically, especially in the higher rating, you guys usually settle on a pretty strong meta as to what you want for your team comps. Yeah. So has that solidified? Seeing how as Eddy, I'm going to say pick you first. Seeing how you're playing both NA and EU, how is that feeling? Is it the same in both regions, or is there like an EU meta at your level and then an NA meta?
Yeah, it's actually quite funny you mention it. America is very team fight oriented. They like the warriors, like heavy melee comps, and just playing for the team fight. In America, you usually only play one rogue, for example, and rogue can be like an indicator. Is he going to move around on the map and steal base or whatever he has planned, right? In EU, we always play double rogue, for example, because we feel like they're the best defenders and we can use them a lot more.
Oh.
So there's definitely a big mid-tap, but it's also funny. You can't really see who's the best because the EU style. If we are meeting an NA comp, they will win teamfights. Like they will win Guineas 9v9. That's for sure. So we are playing 3-man inking them, and then they need to match that. And suddenly the team fight is not as like contested, and we are playing around the off bases. So stuff like this happens. But to say what's best, it's actually really hard because you can play to all comps and also classes as well. I think there's a lot to be explored. It just takes for mage to be good. You also need a very good mage to play. That's why you guys probably know Copsy. When he plays RBG, he wins games solo. But would you see any other mage play? No. Why not? Because they are not Copsy, and there's just a big difference in the skill there. And he also plays RBG actively, so he knows the intricacies and stuff. So stuff like this is really important.
Do you guys see a lot of arena players in RBGs? I thought there's been a separation more so where it's just RBGers and just arena players.
No. We have played with. I've played with Acrolols as well a lot. You probably know him from BlizzCon and stuff. In Europe, we have had a lot, but that was more so back in the days. Now there's a few peeping in and out, but it's not to the same degree as it was before. I think even Wes, the European rogue, even played a lot of RPGs at some point a long time ago. So yeah, or Warlock. Yeah.
Wally. How about you, Drew? Are you seeing a lot of arena players in RBGs and vice versa, or is it kind of more separated?
There usually is like most of the people. I want to say the higher you go, the more likely that RBG player is also high rated in arenas. But like maybe like around the 2K bracket, and it's more like half and half. Like half of them, also are similar arena rating, and the other like does not touch arena. So yeah, I don't have like any data to reference or anything, but I'm just speaking from experience.
No worries. No, anecdotal is fine. Yeah. And how about the meta how are you feeling for the meta? Are you feeling that it's similar to what Eddy's saying, I guess more so. Is it more static for you, or are you seeing a bit more dynamic?
I want to say it is sort of dynamic, but about the double rogue thing, I noticed like teams that only run double rogue are teams where both rogues are really, really good and are like on top of their game. Because if even one of those rogues is not like almost godlike, then that's just one less DPS for team fight. So and most of the time, most teams only run one rogue. I notice because there's not many rogues around. They're hard to find. The rogues, but
That is true. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you could easily find them, then they would be bad rogues. But I think like nowadays, like people just want to play. So like, okay, we got one rogue, hold on to it. If we get a second rogue, great. If not, let's just get what we can and go.
Mm-hmm. Fair. Are you guys finding that meta, even the double rogue meta, or even like the team meta comps, are people copycatting it all the way through the ladder, or is it the lower the ladder goes, the more that loosens up? And so it's, okay, if we get a demon hunter or a bear tank, great. Okay, we got one rogue. Okay, great. Is it what's the healer right now? Is it Mistweaver or is it Disc Priest? Which one?
Mistweaver all the way.
Yeah. So okay, we got one Mistweaver. Okay, good. And
at
after that,
least
it's
two.
Okay.
You need at least two.
Wow. Is that the same in EU there, Eddie?
Yeah, I mean, in EU, the meta is very set by the top teams, and people copy it. Of course, at 1800, people cube whatever. Comp doesn't really matter at a certain rating, right? It's more so what is your experience in PvP. But yeah, for sure, in EU, you always run, because we have Demon Hunter tank. You always need the dragon, Evoker Dragon in defense as well. He can grip you around, he can reset your leaps. He's a really strong defender. So you're kiting with him. You also have the Monk. Monk right now is really strong, mostly due to Revival. Revival neutralizes a lot of goes. It gives you immunity for 2 seconds. So if you see Warlock's bolts are flying in and the stun is coming, you can just cancel the whole go. I felt like you mentioned Priest too. Priest is good. But mostly with a Guardian, actually. And in teamfights, Priests are the best teamfight healer. They have way more utility, but they just lack in other areas, such as mobility, for example.
Okay.
I think the Dragon Preservation Evoker is more desired than Disc Priest, usually, from my experience anyway, because they have the Bloodlust.
Oh, yeah.
Fair. If you don't have
and is it still the case that like Rogue and Boomkin are basically required?
Yes.
No matter what, like those are you need those. Are there any other DPS that you feel like you need, or are they mainly
semi-need? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Semi-need DH. I mean, the higher you go, the more you're going to need DH, because they can spot the stealthers and they can peel out super quick. Out of all the filler DPS, I think the most valuable one is Warlock, because of the Hellstones and the Gateway and the port.
The
Shadow Rift.
Some things never change. I think it's always going to be the case for RBGs. You have that core of Boomy Rogue, and then you kind of build around it.
It's a good thing Jake's been leveling or working on his Warlock gameplay.
Of course. I was actually going to ask Eddie a very specific question.
Yeah, sure. Go.
How do you feel about blood DKs?
Oh, is that a personal attack? Because I lost to one.
No, not personal.
Oh, okay.
No. I would never personally attack you. I'm simply speaking. Seeing as I feel like we both know Bobby, and I feel like I don't know whether you.
Oh, okay. I think blood DKs have so much sustainable healing. Like they can death strike to full HP. Their weakness is that they need a target to heal. So if you literally don't put your melee on him, he can't heal, and you can disarm him and stun him. So I think there could be potential for DK, but a good team will be able to play around it. Then your boomies will start playing disarm and offensive, right? Then you will stun him into disarm, and he can't heal, and he loses all his power, really. But yeah, I mean, maybe it could work. I mean, Bobby makes it work, right? But Bobby is also very unique in that sense.
He is very unique, very special.
Yeah. You need to play around it, right? Like everything works if you play around it. It's the same for a monk tank. Can he work? Yeah, I mean, he can port with the flag. It's super strong on Warzone Gulch, if you think about it. If you can constantly knock the enemies, you can always jump down and port back to roof as well. So there's a lot of potential, but it's really hard to execute. And yeah, that's why DHs and Guardians are like the meta right now.
Yeah, I think I think the image that really pops to mind for me from from Bobby's Blood Decay, and we've obviously talked to him about it on the podcast, is I remember very, very vividly him dragging Disc Priest to the bottom of the river, of the seething shore.
Yeah.
Another reason why it's probably a really good idea that that seething shore isn't a thing anymore, so we don't have Bobby dragging people down and drowning them, which I think is hilarious.
But that's blood in itself, and specifically against priest. The priest can't move, and yeah, I mean, but I think Bobby is very good at finding these small stuff, right? Like he has like his, I don't know, uniqueness in that case. Like he always tries to be different.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the thing. I enjoy. That's the thing I really love about RBGs in general is the way that there is a lot of experimentation you can go, and I think there's a really, I think it's a really great bracket to just go in and go, let's try like 10 blood DKs, see what happens. I think that kind of stuff. For example, like that's the sort of thing you can do. See, does it work? Does it not? No, but we had fun, and that's the main thing.
Dude, those are the best RBGs, like 9 Boomkin or something, like some crazy stuff.
I mean, it could work in theory. I mean, why not?
Flag carrier never leaves the tunnel. They're just trapped there by blood decay grip after blood decay grip after.
Yeah, exactly.
That just sounds horrible.
No, it was. Yeah, I think it's no. The reason I only asked Eddie because I feel like we've had that mutual experience. I'm just curious on your opinion on that one.
But wasn't it a big problem for North America as well? Didn't you like suddenly have an influx of blood DKs or like triple blood DKs team all trying to grab one healer each, and then suddenly there's no one in the team fight. At least I felt like it doesn't like, especially like we've seen a lot in America, but honestly, I think it's fine. Like you're just playing around his spells, right? Like he's just gripping him away. There's nothing more to it. He just has a lot of grips, and that's it. So yeah,
exactly. But it's fun. It's fun.
It is true though. There's some pretty neat things that people do between the mechanics of the maps, the terrain, and how you can use that, and then all the different abilities that the various players can bring depending on what the comp is that you've decided to play with. I guess the only thing I'm kind of curious about is how is that translating over to Battleground Blitz? Just in Battleground Blitz, I've played some games. I wouldn't say I haven't played it religiously since it came out, but I've been trying to play, and I have noticed various maps where especially right at the very beginning, people didn't learn what the new map style was, and have tried to play what they used to play on the YOLO RBGs and use those strats, and it hasn't really worked. And I'm just wondering, I'm going to throw it out to whoever wants to speak first, jump in. But out of the games you've played, how have you felt that players have learned this new game style and how to play on these maps?
Do you wanna, or
I feel like you have more to say about that than I do, because I saw like all those notes you had on stream last night. So I'm gonna let you go first.
Thank you. I'm gonna try keep it short. Just quickly, we can go over the changes. The mount speed increase to 150%. It's major, right? It changes the whole dynamic. You can move around on the map in a different way. It allows for a faster gameplay. So, I mean, that's fine. Honestly, you want fast games if you want to draw people in, especially when it's solo queue. You don't want to have them in a 20-minute game, when there's lost. Other changes is you can the cap timers have changed to 4 seconds. So capping a base is now 4 seconds. Usually it's 6. So there's more like ninja potential. You also lose the base now. So let's say you cap a base, it will turn neutral after 40 seconds. I think 40 or 30 seconds. So in general, it's different, but the meta will set. At some point, the meta will set. But right now, it feels chaotic. So I think ideally, it's probably the right direction. It will probably lower the skill of the game, but we should have more participants like moving into Blitz, or like at least making a RPG shuffle out of Blitz for the future. But yeah, like there's a lot of changes coming in.
There is a lot of change. The number of times I've seen people still run to well, even last night we were doing Eye of the Storm, and it was FR and Drain Out Ruins, and I saw Dots run to Bet, trying to build up tower there, and Mage Tower on the enemy side. Watch players trying to go and cap an uncappable node because they didn't even realize that it wasn't eligible until the flag got capped. And we're how many months into this already? Like it's So it is what it is. Personally, I found, and actually, Eddie, I'm going to find to you as a Vengeance Demon Hunter, trying to get from enemy flag room to the other side without getting hit by, like, in regular BGs or RBGs, you can usually get across the map pretty good, right? You know, everybody's trapped in battle or they're trapped in combat. Nobody can mount up or anything. I have yet to be able to cross a map without having somebody charge in on me on their mount because they're able to cross the map in 5 seconds. And nuke and literally I can't. Sometimes I haven't got to my team because they're so far up ahead that I get trapped out in the open. Like, have you felt the same way on that?
I would say it's hard to say because people don't play like always the correct way, right? When you play a blitz, so you need some MMR before like a standard starts to set. But the mount thing is very big. There's even some maps you can just run to the enemy base before they cap it and stop it. So after Storm is an example of that. So they need to look into that. For tanking especially, it will mean a lot too, because as a demon hunter you're usually kiting around. So people being able to just mount up and run you down, it's like I literally made in my notes, never dismount, it's too OP. Because it's actually too OP if you need to connect a guy.
With the exception of Deep Wind Gorge, because you will kill yourself trying to mounting up and jumping off one of those towers or one of the mountains. Like, you know, they'll take like 50% or 60% of your health.
That's true.
Drew, as a DK though, how do you feel about it?
Well, I wanted to say, I don't think it's a good idea with the mount speed, because I think Blizzard has enough trouble balancing the classes between raiding, dungeons, and PvP in general. Adding another thing that they have to balance around is like, I don't think that should be in the first place. But I did notice that, like, I feel like if you play a blood DK or something, I think it would be more obsolete to play a blood DK in BG Blitz than it is in in regular 10v10 partly because of that mount speed. I think Guardian Druids are going to be more meta in RBG in BG Blitz than RBGs, believe it or not.
I agree. I think the one thing I do like is the idea that somebody can be a prop paladin or a plot warrior and be viable.
You can't. You can't. Like that, just the fact alone that you can't bubble while carrying the flag or orb, like that already puts you at a disadvantage. I don't. I'm not arguing that that's how it should be. That you should be able to bubble with the flag, but I don't know. I feel like
that would be broken.
Yeah, it would be broken. But also,
I guess it's more that a casual player, if they're playing that class, that spec, that's like their class agency is, like, you know, they see themselves as a prop paladin and they want to play BGs, but they've never really been able to because they only play randoms because they can't get picked up anywhere. Well, now they can queue into BGB and pretend.
That's what I don't. Yeah, but like if I enter a BG Blitz and I see that the enemy team has a Guardian Druid and I got a prop paladin, I'm gonna be like,
Yeah, but-
Because I don't think the answer to bad spec design for a certain for like PvP is, oh, your spec is bad for PvP and no one wants to invite you in LFG. Let's force people to play with you. Like no, fix the spec.
and it's a very good point you bring in there, right? Like the class balancing. Like, what do you do? Let's say, as you said, if they have a Demon Hunter and we have the Prot Pala, again, do you always match a Prot Pala into Prot? It all depends on what Blizzard wants to do with the matchmaking. We are assuming they're gonna make Blitz into a game mode. It's quite likely it will. So I think
hope
like
not.
it depends on that. It's also, what about if there's 5 druids in queue? Do you put all the 5 druids into the same game?
I mean, I think it'd be a rare point when there's only, there's going to be 5 druids and they don't have enough players to separate that around. Like I don't know what the
Maybe
statistics
hunters.
are. Yeah, definitely hunters.
That is the most popular class.
Mhm.
Last time I checked.
Hunters
So.
a DH. Right? I think we've been more likely to see multiple DHs on a team.
Yeah.
So I think I honestly don't know what they've done for their matchmaking. I will say in the few games, the few dozen games that I've played of BGB, the teams have looked pretty balanced. Like there's been a good spectrum of players. The one thing I found, and this was tested on a number of different levels, is the duo queue. I think is quite broken because it was listed as being as a DPS queue with your healer, and the two of you can queue a BGB together. It seems like the Boolean logic that they've used to allow for that is healer plus anything. So you can really queue healer as healer. So you could do a 2-team healer and control whether your team actually wins or loses just based on that fact.
I mean, it's and also they have a lot of just impact on the game just by the fact that they do, right. We didn't even mention that we mentioned the mounts. We didn't even say they're also shrinking the size of teams to 8v8, right? That's also
Yes.
a very big thing, right? So if 2 people are in a group on voice, let's say it's a tank and a healer that plays together, that could be like, they could probably solo carry in some maps, right? So I think it's something that needs to be looked into, right? You will definitely have an easier time pushing raiding with a friend than complete solo. That's for sure.
I think I don't think BG Blitz should be a separate rated bracket. I think if anything, it should stay as a brawl, and they should just add a solo queue option into the 2v2, 3v3, and 10v10 brackets.
Yeah, I think there's a legitimate concern that participation among PvP is kind of a bit too stretched thin, right? And if they add another rated game mode, it's just going to exacerbate that problem.
Yeah, especially when they all reward the same thing, when 90% of the rewards from each bracket is the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, solo shuffle is a very complicated thing because, as we mentioned, right, it's kind of a useful game mode for people who just get off of work and they don't want to really spend time in LFG. But I kind of feel like they're hesitating to implement Battleground Blitz as a rated mode just because they're concerned maybe that it's going to take even more participation away from solo shuffle, right? Those queue times for DPS are going to be even longer if you have, even 10% of the player base queuing that Battleground Blitz mode. So I don't know. I think that, yeah.
I think for RBG itself, you would have more players coming in. There would be more players playing RBG or like Blitz than RBG if it were solo shuffle. But it would definitely kill the RPG scene that's existing. Maybe a few teams would set up games into each other at night. But other than that, everyone would play the Blitz. But again, this is coming from a like top high-end perspective. For the casual viewer, he should be excited for this. He's gonna avoid all the boosting teams that he's hinting at 1.9, 2 KMMR. He's gonna avoid all the good teams that are playing on else, right? Because they're gonna be spread out. So for the casual viewer, like Blitz is good. It's the same for League of Legends, right? I think that's where Blizzard has this inspiration from. Like League have a very good solo. I mean, you can argue if it's good, but at least it's active, right? Yeah.
I'm sorry, you finish first.
No, I'm done pretty much.
Oh, okay. Can I link something in the Twitch chat?
I'll probably block it if you want. Drop it in the show notes or something like that, and I'll link it in.
Okay.
What are you linking? What are you linking?
It's a.
Why did that do it away?
The reason why a lot of people like myself are very, very apprehensive about adding more solo queue brackets into the game that reward almost exactly the same thing as the pre-made group rated brackets is because we don't want World of Warcraft to turn into the picture I just linked. Where because like you said, League of Legends, and that kind of like rung a bell in my head. I think there is a compromise to have solo queue in the game, but not as a separate bracket. Like if it is going to be a separate bracket, it cannot reward most of the same stuff that you get from the pre-made group rated bracket.
Mm-hmm.
That, or like just like I said before, add the solo queue mode. Like get rid of solo shuffle, get rid of BG Blitz, and just add solo queue options to the pre-made group rated content we have right now. Those are the two compromises that I think would be best for the game.
Yeah, I think there's a point there is, and I think this is the thing that we were talking about originally with when we were talking about the solo shuffle, and like you just said, is that if it's the same rewards, and you know if it's sitting in a queue and not having to go through the time commitment of going through LFG, trying to get in a team, win a few times, as soon as somebody loses, it drops and you're back in that cycle of trying to build a team again. Instead, you just sit and click a button, hands off, go do whatever you're doing. You can go run around and herb and mine or whatever until the queue pops, or run circles around Valdrakken or Dalaran, or pick your city until the queue pops. Okay, great. And is it a lonely experience? I mean, sure, you're not sitting in voids with a bunch of people waiting for the queue to pop. Are you really, if you're sitting there with two friends, are you really sitting there and yammering on and having a great conversation while you're waiting for that queue to pop? I don't know. Maybe you are, maybe you aren't.
I do.
Sure. I think there's some people that maybe aren't. I don't know. They might be sitting there listening to music or something like that, and like, oh, queue popped, and then they turn off the music and run off. I don't know. So I can't say what my experience is and what everybody else's experience is the same. I think really what I'm rolling this to, though, is I think you do have a point, is that if Battleground Blitz turns into a rated bracket where people just click a button and wait till the queue pops, and it can do exactly the same thing, get the same rewards as if they're doing RBGs or arenas. I'll say actually arenas, because you actually get more rewards doing arenas than you do out of RBGs right now, I think. Mm-hmm. Then yeah, it'll just splinter the player base more. If it gives a whole different range of rewards, then you're going to entice people to play both, and then that fear that everybody has had, which I think is really what polarized when Battleground Blitz was first announced. There's a huge polarization where there's people that really enjoyed the idea. I think that was the casual side of the player base, and that super competitive were like, oh my god, you're just going to splinter us, we're not going to have anybody to play with or play against, and you just screwed us. Thank you very much, Blizz. And I can feel that. And I think you're right, is that the answer to that is, well, then don't just copy and paste the same rewards. Make them a little bit different, and we'll see some better participation.
Yeah, like the solo shuffle should not reward the elite set. And like I asked every single player that has had that earned 2.4 in solo shuffle and 3v3. I asked them, I want to say like not like the whole population, but like whenever I get the chance, maybe around like 10 people, I want to say. Like I asked them, okay, in terms of skill, what's harder to get 2.4 in, solo shuffle or 3v3? And all of them said 3v3. 3v3 is objectively harder to get 2.4 in than solo shuffle. So why is it that 99% of the rewards I earn in 3v3 I can get just from queuing solo shuffle? Like what you said about the different rewards, I would say if you want to give solo shuffle rewards, don't award the elite set and the enchant and that stuff. I would just like, if you want to give them an armor set, like, okay, give them an armor set that's like the armor is like very gray. It's like the tabard is like ripped and stuff. They have like there's like bird poop on the shoulder pad or something, and they're like, wow, I earned this armor from hitting 1800, and it looks like garbage. Okay, you want the cool one? Get your ass an LFG.
I love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, it seems like cosmetics seem just like such a simple solution to,
Yes.
and just making even slight variations. And I think it's perfectly reasonable for people to get their elite set from solo shuffle. I mean, since it is like what people are playing for the most part. But I mean, I could be perfectly fine with the elite set in 3v3 being a different color, or being like slightly cooler or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot you can do with cosmetics. I think it's very obvious that cosmetics are the way to motivate people. And so yeah, I think, as I mentioned earlier, like some sort of trading post for PvP, it seems like the solution. Just have like slightly different colors on every set of elite set from every different bracket. That way everyone's happy. And you encourage people to play other things.
Yeah, just to end quickly on that too, I think for me the mount is probably the biggest pull. Even if it's just a recolor, people have different color schemes on their transmog, so they might just want that mount for the fact that it's the green dragon and not the red dragon that they get from the other mode. So I think recoloring, even though it's the easy fix, I think that's the best. Also, people like, I think mount collecting is like one of the bigger like collectibles in WoW as well. Something people go into very wholeheartedly. So I think something like, I think mount would probably be the best. But I like the trading post idea a lot, actually. I think that's maybe you should look into that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna hand deliver this idea to Blizzard myself. I'm gonna walk up to their offices and scream.
There's also another idea, and this wasn't even my idea. This was Easy Games' idea, but I thought it was really good. Like the simplest solution is just add a recolor. But what if RBGs, like Arena is like the flying mount, and RBGs have the ground mount, and like at 1600 rating, you get the mount just bare, and then at 1700 it gets a piece of armor, and at 1800 it gets another piece of armor, so it incentivizes people to keep climbing.
Yeah. That could be cool, huh?
Yeah. Maybe it doesn't have to be that low. It could be higher. I'm just, I just thought it was a good idea.
That's good.
Well, I mean, we've kind of moving slightly away from what we have been talking about and kind of back onto something that we touched on briefly. We talked a lot about maps earlier when we talked about our need grid pass, but for the both of you guys, maybe starting with Drew, like in terms of Battleground Blitz, like what maps do you feel like work and that are kind of actually pretty good, and which don't?
I don't think out of all the maps I played, I don't think there was a single map where I find myself saying, this is better than the 10v10 version. Like it's okay. It's fun as an unrated mode, but as a competitive mode, I'd be pissed. Like just trying to climb this. Like not even like from the fact that I can't choose my teammates, but just like the battlegrounds themselves, like with like how fast the mounts move, because that's gonna like shift the meta, which is gonna make having non-guardian druids on your team if you're on a flag map even like more stressful. I'm really trying to think if there's like something about BG Blitz I like better than RBGs, and I can't find anything. I guess the closest thing is with Arathi Basin, because the bases turn off, you don't automatically respawn back at that base, so it's possible it's easier to take it back. Because one of Arathi Basin's biggest problems is that once you get 3 bases, like as long as your team knows how to peel, it's over. The team with 3 bases won the game. Like if you keep winning the team fight, at like BS or something, they're just going to keep rezzing there. So like, but for me, the answer would be like just change the way the original Arathi Basin works, where maybe like in the middle they don't spawn right there, they spawn further away, or something like that. So no, I can't think of anything in BG Blitz that I would say works. So I'm sorry if that's not the answer people are looking for.
No. There is no right or wrong answer. It's literally just opinion. I mean, I think that's the point of it all, is that everyone has their own opinions on what works and what doesn't work, and I think they're trying to figure out a method to fix whatever's going on. And I don't think you can say anything wrong, really. It's like what works for you, what works for the bracket you're playing, and what works for the bracket that other people are playing. And who knows, it might work at higher rating, it might work more at lower rating. I think that's the point about it all. If we get stuck on like right and wrong answers, I think nothing good will ever come, and RPGs will just completely fade away. Eddie, what do you how do you feel about the maps?
The maps, do you like? I can go through one by one if you want, but that might be a bit boring. I have notes for every map. I think maybe just to take like the one with the least changes, Kogmogo, will pretty much be the same. Temple of Kogmogo. You're still picking the orbs and stuff. There's like no real changes to the spawns or to the way you play the map. You still go for it now, just an 8v8, then pick orbs and kite around. So I think Kogmogo will probably be fine. It would be the map where we see like the most I could say overlaps from RBG into Blitz. Silver Shard Mines, also a good example. It's very much the same. There's a few new buffs, but other than that, it's still the same number of cards. Now you're just less players on the map, so you're still doing the same objectives. The biggest changes for sure, AB. Now Drew mentioned he didn't like the old AB. The new AB is very chaotic, and it's due to the fact that when you cap a base, you cannot, when it's turn for you, the enemy will not be able to cap it. They can only cap it when it's neutral. So as when you cap a base and you turn it, you can ghost it. You don't need to defend it. And in those moments, this would be the mid as well. People will start moving around, contesting the bases that are neutral, and then falling back to their own. So for AB, I think it's a really good design, just by the fact that you can now come back. Drew mentioned when you have the base and you die there, you rest there. It's very hard to overturn the enemy. But now it would be neutral at some point, and you have a lot of comeback potential. So I think it will definitely like help a lot for the mental of the game, because you won't feel like, oh, we are down. You're only down a few hundred points now at some point, but you're not down like the base actually, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that absolutely does. Absolutely does. I think there's, with the changes of how many people you're going to have in this sort of bracket, there's going to be things that are going to have to adapt massively, and it's just going to be a very different experience in total. I personally have found it a very weird and different experience, and I think it's kind of, I think they're trying. I think there's too many band-aid things going on that Blizzard are trying to do to make things work. But realistically speaking, I think if they really wanted to do the changes that they'd need to make, I think total rehaul of specific maps, bring in like we had when the arenas first came out, a very small map pool, but a map pool that worked. That might be a really great idea.
I don't know. I feel like the originals, like Warsong Gulch, Arathi Basin, and I feel like those are going to be there for forever. I feel like those, just because of the lore and
Yeah, for sure.
and the connection to the community, those are never going to leave. I do like 8v8 in the maps. Seeing the 6v6 tournaments that had happened, it just felt there's too few players for the map size. I feel 8v8 is amazing. I will say, while some people say that the buffs are gimmicky and cartoony and stuff like that, I like the fact that, so if you end up in a lobby where you don't have a stealthy, having a stealth buff and be able to run around and act like a stealthy and do stealthy things is a cool idea. I think a number of players, it's going to take a long time for players to run who aren't used to being a stealth class to learn how to do that. If you have a player that's never played Feral Druid or never played Rogue, to learn how to become a stealthy and be able to try to stealth cap something like that, trying to get a warlock to learn how to do that, that's going to be a few hundred games before they learn how to use that buff properly.
I don't think I like the idea of classes being homogenized like that. I like that a class has something unique and special about it, like giving everyone a stealth through that buff to me is like I don't like that.
I think that's the difference between this being a solo queue and it's just to offset the randomness, right?
Yeah, like as an unrated mode, that's fine. You know, I'm okay with random you know what happening. Like, sure, it's all for fun. There's like, we lose, big deal. Nothing lost to be had. But you know, if you're sitting in queue and then, you know, it's just a luck of the draw, and you know, you get the wrong classes on your side of on your side, then, and you lose rating because of that, it's
Well, how would you feel, Drew, if you ended up in, let's say Arathi Basin? You're in Arathi Basin, and you end up with no stealthy.
BG Blitz?
Yeah, it's BG Blitz. Rated BG Blitz. So let's put you at 1900. You're 1900 BG Blitz.
All right.
And your lobby happens to not get a stealth class, but the other enemy has 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's lost.
Yeah, even with the buff.
Fair. I counter that. I counter that with the buff, you would still be you still have competition, but I think that's why that's there. That's the scenario.
I just thinking that the philosophy of like you not being able to pick your teammates is a big turnoff for me.
Sure.
And like, it's okay for solo shuffle because like that quote unquote bat spec is going to be on your team and the enemy team, so it balances out that way.
Fair.
Like that's like one of the few good things I can say about solo shuffle.
Mm-hmm. I honestly feel bad when I queue solo shuffle on my Vengeance DH, just because I'm also a poopy player. So not great.
Poopy player or poopy class?
Whoa. That's not poop on the class.
I take that back. How is Vengeance DH in arenas?
I mean, it's trolling.
It's trolling, but if played properly, it, like, just with the amount of stuns and locks you have, you completely shut down a caster.
Okay,
I agree. You can make it work for sure. If you have a good teammate that does damage, you can cross the whole team. Like,
yeah, you can really, and it just decimates because it screws up every single one of their goes. It screws up, you know. You can lock out a healer for, like, with the amount of stuns and breaks you have. Like, they won't cast for a minute. So,
all right,
it's fun. In a devilish kind of way. All right. But anyway, going back to buffs, so I think specifically the stealth buff, and I think that's why that was there. So, but at the same time, I think, so if you like the idea of forming your own team and having that set team play, where you have these players and these are the ones you're going to play with, BG Blitz, even if rated, doesn't sound like it's your thing. Do you feel like you're going to be forced to play it?
If it kills RBGs, yes.
Okay.
Like that, or some people are actually talking about going back to Cataclysm if retail RPGs die. But
I can see that.
I mean, I certainly will
Like-
be playing Kata
like-
RPGs. I think it'll be fun.
the only thing I don't like about Cataclysm RBGs is that you need maybe not so much in the first season, but I think the second season onward, there's PvE content you need to do, like
Mhm.
to stay competitive.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot.
So yeah, it's not like I'm not trying to be like an elitist jerk by saying like I don't want BG Bliss as a rated mode, and like people are like, oh come on, don't be selfish, but like it's like, well, I mean, I think demanding a game mode that could potentially kill another one could also be arguably selfish. I don't think that like, which is why I'm saying, like, I think there is a compromise, which I already mentioned before. Just add solo queue into the 2v2, 3v3, 10v10 brackets, and then just get rid of the other two, or give separate rewards for every single bracket.
Yeah, I hear you. And I don't think they're like, obviously we don't have an answer. We aren't devs. We don't have that. You know, we'll have to see what the decision is from devs. Whether they actually listen to this podcast, I have no idea.
Hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, there has been things that we've said on this podcast, and strangely enough, things have changed in game. Is that related? Probably not, but I like to pretend so sometimes. You know, it's not immediate, so who knows? I think that pretty much taps out the conversation, unless I guess Jake, I'm going to throw to you. Do you have any other thoughts, any other questions, any other topics on either BGs or RBGs that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, I think we talking about Kata and sort of older style BGs. I think RBG. Sorry, I think it would be an interesting thing to see how popular that is once that releases, because one of the things I feel that Blizzard are doing is that they're looking back towards an era of the past, so a time period in which they were massively successful, Wrath of the Lich King, for example, and kind of going, okay, that was really successful. How do we apply that now in our current business model? And they're trying to adapt and make, like the new talents in Dragonflight, the new kind of changes that they've been making. They've been sort of adapting it here and there. And I'm really curious to see, what you guys think about whether or not there actually might be a really vibrant RPG community in some of the older style games. Let's say we go to MOP Classic even, and get that. Do you think there could be a sudden shift entirely? I guess obviously it would depend on the communities, but I think that could be a really interesting move.
I could see RBGs going the same way that like Twinks did. If I'm if I think there's a lot of similarities between those two communities. So I think like the Twinks kind of just go wherever the queues are. And I could see the same thing happening with RPGers over the long term. If we have all these different game modes, I think people will just inevitably go. There's going to be some sort of like camaraderie where people just kind of go wherever their homies go. So if Kata becomes that place, then yeah, that's going to be Kata. But I doubt that. I think like the Twinks, they were playing Wrath Classic for a while, and I think they now play SOD. So I mean, there is kind of like some tendencies to move around a bit. I mean, they were playing retail a while ago, but that's since changed. So yeah, I think people just kind of go wherever their friends go, and yeah, so I could see that happening for sure.
That makes sense. Eddie, what do you think?
I think it was a very good point actually brought. Like, let's honestly see what happens in Kata. Now, I think also for me personally, like one of the big mistakes is like everyone is looking at this as rose-tinted glasses, right? The classic, oh, we're striving for the past when we were all younger and stronger and more handsome, all that jazz, right? And I think Blizzard actually has a problem like that because they want to be what they once was, right? But you will never get Wrath of the Lich King again. the game, the feeling, everything was just different. Everyone was now I'm gonna say it. Everyone was so bad that for everyone, anything you did was a new exploration. Now everything is set in stone. You literally Google your spec, your class, your rotation in 10 minutes, and you know everything what you need to do. It wasn't like that back then. I mean, maybe it was, but only like the very few actually knew. For everyone else, it was all about that journey. And I think it's just you can't recreate that. And it is what it is. But I think honestly, if you wanna, I think Blitz will make RPG more active. I think Kata will have its moments, but I think Kata will be popping off the first season, and then it will just flatten out a bit because I can't see the incentives. And I mean,
Yeah.
why would you go back to Kata to play RPG? Like it's playing the niche old game mode and then the niche in the niche, right? Like we're getting very deep in the layers here, like Inception-ish or whatever.
Exactly.
I,
There's so many layers of niche that it kind of becomes how we splitting this community even more.
I kind of look forward to having a mage, and we'll just run in at 8 stacks and pop time warp and blow up the enemy flag carrier and cap, and just rinse and repeat that because that was the meta.
Mm. But will
I
it
don't
still be
even
the meta?
remember what was the meta. It's like probably warlocks and mages. Yeah, warlocks, mages, rogues. I don't remember.
It was something like that.
Kata, the
Boomkins.
strongest classes was people who could use the legendary staff where you'd proc your spell twice. There was the Ratak one-hander that procced AoE, and there was the Cunning trinket that procced AoE. And then for like warriors, you needed like the strength trinket or whatever. Like it was so PvP based. PvE based in the end. And I think that actually kind of kills it for me. I don't like you need to do X or like the overlaps, but I mean, yeah, we'll see. It's kind of exciting.
Yeah, we'll see. It'll be on that. Big. Did you have any other burning questions you wanted or topics you want to cover before we move on?
No, I'm good.
All right. All right. I think I'm going to do the infamous one thing you would change question. So, scenario is, you're sitting down with, with John and Holly, the executive directors for World of Warcraft, and they say, you know what, whatever, no cost is, there's no limits. You ask it, and we'll make it happen. Ridiculous or not, whatever you want, we'll make it happen. What is one thing about, I'll say, rated Battleground content in the current game or World of Warcraft would you like to change? You only get one, though.
Okay, so my inner smartass is saying delete BG Blitz, but my the real answer would be give RBGs a unique seasonal reward.
All right.
For 10v10 bracket only.
I like it. What rating? Because obviously Vicious Saddles already exist, and technically,
yeah, I have about 10,000 of those in my bank.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the other one, I think the better one would be the controversial one where it's like you can, if you earn like 1,800, within RBGs and one other arena bracket, not solo shuffle, and within one season you get a token, and with that token you can buy a set from a season you missed, and at 2.4 you can buy a gladiator mount that you missed.
Okay.
I think that would because I'm talking about FOMO. That's a whole other topic. But I think that's prestigious enough that you got 2.4 in more than one bracket within a season. So I think that like it so that way it doesn't really take away the prestige of having that mount.
All right. I like it. I'm going to go to Jake first before I head over to Eddie. Jake, what's the one thing you would change?
Yeah, so I'll do it from an RBG perspective. I think the obvious answer would obviously be rewards, but I'm going to bring back something that I suggested before when we've talked about it quite a few times on the podcast. But I think what they should do is they should adapt the Gladiator mounts completely to include RBGs, and this is how it works. So I personally think that you could split it up. So, for example, if you had a for Gladiator, you got just a normal, like a land mount, like a non-flying land mount, in both brackets, being a recolor of each one. Like, for example, green for arena, purple for RBGs. Makes sense, right? You get 2400, you play 10 games or 10 games, let's say 10 games for RBGs, add 2400, perfect. You've got your hero mount, whatever you want to call it. It's a land mount. And then for the rank 1, so we're talking hero or rank 1, there is a flying mount as well as the title. Now, I think if they did that, the competitiveness in arena and in RBGs would be much, much higher. People would be playing either one to get the reward, and most people obviously would go for whichever one is easier. And I think that would be a really great way to kind of spice things up. And I think that would kind of make the bracket more, I suppose, full, because people do get to 2400, do get their Gladiator and just stop and then go back to doing ults. So you get these multi-Gladiator, multi-rank 1 players that are playing at around 1800. And so people that kind of just start to learn the game have got all the manners of skilled players to try and deal with, and they feel very, very, very bad. And I feel like adding something like that would mean that people consistently try and keep pushing on their mains and keep driving basically the content for everyone else.
I like it.
That
Let's,
was a cool one.
yeah, let's take both those answers and ship them directly to Blizzard. First, before we do that though, actually, Eddie, what's the third thing we should ship with Blizzard? What's your idea?
Inflate the MMR and change the system back to BFA. So the reason why I'm mentioning this, and you guys probably like, what is he talking about? So in BFA, the MMR system was inflated a lot, so people were like 3K rated. And you could meet, a 3K team could easily meet a 2.5 team, but that can't happen today. Today, if there's I think 400 MMR discrepancy, you can't meet each other. This will incentivize more playing. And I know some people don't like the inflated MMR brackets, but what it brings is, for the team that's right now 1900, 1800, they would be 2.2, 2.3 in that season. They would feel the progression. They would feel we are getting better. We are 2.2, we are 2.3. We are getting a high warlord. We are getting these titles that we never obtained. And so for a lot of these players, it felt good. And sure, the 2.5 team that loses constantly to the 3K team, they might not having that much fun, but they're still feeling like they're progressing. So I feel like right now, you kind of lack that. People are just stuck 1900 2K. They're even getting gatekept by boosters or whatever. So literally, like bringing an influx into the ladder would help a lot, because you need that feeling of progression, and that would definitely like keep more people in check. Because if you're stuck 1900 for 2 months, you're not gonna queue up one more night again to lose 2, and you know what I mean? Like, So yeah, I think even though people might not be 2.4, I think them having the feeling that they got there, I think it's very, very important. Maybe some of you guys could speak about that if you played in a season where you might not, you were at a rating that you usually weren't, but you felt good, right? Because I actually made it, if that makes sense.
No, I think that's always been an issue, just with inflation, and anytime if you win if you finish a bracket, if you finish the season at, let's say, like 2200 or something like that, and then the next season you're struggling at 1800, that doesn't feel good. And then it's not until you may be lucky if you still have the fortitude and you have players that are still playing with you, teammates, that then you can later in the season get up to that 2200 again. But I think, unless I'm missing understanding what you're saying, but I feel like if that's what you're saying, that does feel bad, as if you've made it to a certain level because the bracket was super inflated, and you made like this certain level, you're like this unattainable level, that this is where I've made it finally, and then the next bracket or the next season is deflated and you're struggling to get past 16, 1700. That feels bad. And I think the I think those breakpoints being arbitrary numbers that are non-flexible to the inflation or the deflation of that season is a bad thing. We talked about this before though, Big. That was your thing about doing percentages, right?
For like restructuring rewards or whatever, like
Well, just the whole like, you know, when if you
Oh,
it has a season
yeah.
that's super inflated, you can make like 2,800 easy,
Yeah.
and the next season you're struggling to get to
Yeah.
1,800, right?
Yeah, it's really disorienting. It's a really old system, like for
Mhm.
sure, out of date. It makes people confused. It makes people angry. There's nothing really good about it anymore.
Yeah. Is that what you're talking about, Eddie? Did I miss it?
Yeah, no, yeah, you're pretty right on that. But also just like the like feeling of, oh, I improved. I was 2K last season, now I'm 2-3. Even though it might actually be the same rating, the same players you meet, you at least had a feeling of progression. But again, it's hard, right? Because you can't keep scaling it to like 5K rated, right? And then now we start. Now it's a bit trolling. But yeah.
Arguably, I'd say you could. I mean, it's just a number. Why they reset it and don't let it just keep scaling? I mean, why not? Why not have a whole expansion table instead of every season resetting it? I mean, they can do whatever the heck they want, right? They make the system. So if that's what you want, I'm sure Holly and John would do that, not a problem. I'll get them on the horn. I think Big, what's the one thing you change?
I'd buff Resto Druids.
This guy, so biased.
It seems like every season I check the RBG ladder and it's just like Priest, Mistweaver, Paladin sometimes, and I don't know if Evoker was meta at all this expansion, but
What Presevoker? Yes, absolutely.
I want to see Druids rise to the top again. Okay, that's all I care about. Not biased. I just want things to be fair. Okay.
If you want that to happen, you gotta nerf the Mistweavers. They're the ones that are hogging most of the healer
Oh,
spots.
I gladly nerf Mistweavers. Oh, any day.
Yes. Oh boy. Okay. What I would change is I would have them. So envision the fact now we're owned by Microsoft, right? So I would have at the end of a match, you would now get an AI check-in from Cortana, who would go through your gameplay and pull out snippets of things you did really well and things that you could have done better, and give you a feedback lesson telling you those two items of what she thought that you did really well in that matchup and things you could improve upon. So, Eddie, you did a really good job kiting around as the Vengeance DH. And I want to point out that when you did that jump leap, right, and capped the flag just as the enemy flag carrier died, that was awesome. But I really think that what you could have done to optimize is instead of double leaping at this one position, is maybe leapt, ran for 5 seconds, and then leapt again because you didn't use your speed boost appropriately.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that could actually be easy because there's a lot, like the easiest one, if you wanted to have an AI to do that, is just saying, there's literally a 5-second window where you're not pressing any globals, and the global you're pressing, you don't have enough energy for it, you don't have enough fury for it. This is the most common mistake, honestly, I think, for many players, is it's just too hard to have the perfect, key combination when you're doing your rotation, right? So stuff like this, I think, could be like very like easily implemented. But I think some things is also hard, right? Because the bot, I mean, how much data do you give it access to? You know, like is it on my PC? You know, like I know I'm just trolling, but I think it's a good idea.
I'm assuming that they have enough data on the server side that they could recreate the scene and maybe even show it back to you, do a screen clip. No different.
Or like a play of the game, like something like that.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, that's my one idea for this. That's my idea for the year. I'm done. Speaking of done, I think we pretty much put a complete stake into that subject, but let's get into the news quickly before we roll this out and talk about the stuff that has happened PvP-wise in the World of Warcraft.
All right. Who ordered up an extra large can of whoop ass?
All right, so as always, we always start with the esports events that have finished. So recently that was the Mythic Dungeon International, the Group A and B. And just a quick congrats to Team Echo and Team Perplexed for taking first place in their respective groups. Not really a big surprise that Echo won in their group. I mean, they've always won. So, yeah. I will say, I want to see in the Group B, there was some amazing gameplay. There were some great matches there. I think there was one match where the team won by 0.5 or 0.6 of a second. That was the difference of the winner and the loser for some dungeon runs. So if that interests you, highly recommend you go back and check the VODs. Some great matches there. If not, even go check over, I think, World of Warcraft YouTube. They have some videos that were done by some of the casters talking about some of the polls. I think the one that was most recent was Nagura was talking about a poll that was done where the team got 40% of their dungeon count in one poll. Just it was pretty insane. Hot fixes, always hot fixes. Not so much for PvP though, as much to everybody's chagrin. Right, Big?
Yeah, so it's kind of a conspiracy at this point. I don't know what's going on. I mean, it's presumably it's just MDI AWC, but who knows?
Yeah, probably. I will note that there was a outlaw bug that got fixed with echoing recommend, so that was good. Apparently, it was doing more than it should have. But yeah. Oh, and if anybody noticed last week that there was 2 Battleground Blitz brawls that you could select on the UI for PvP. So that's because regularly the Arathi Blizzard, when it queues up with Battleground Blitz, it gets erased and shows up twice as BGB. So apparently that got fixed. I think on the last day of the week. So hopefully next time. Pardon me?
Yeah, now they just got to get rid of the other one.
What?
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I know.
I'm kidding.
I love you and hate
Don't
you at the
kill
same
me.
time, Drew. I actually enjoy playing BGB. Not gonna lie. And then Season of Discovery, they got a bunch of class tuning. I'm not going to go through it all. If you're interested, links in the show notes. You can read it up and see what all the changes were on that. Unless anything stuck out to anybody, but I don't think there was anything that's otherwise worthwhile talking about. I think I cut you off, Big. Was there something else you wanted to say on that?
No. I'm
Okay.
good.
So and that was that other one. Sorry. So if anybody is very interested in the Season of Discovery, Dextro did an interview with the devs there. I'd recommend go ahead and take a look at it. It is in depth. The conversations that they have, the topics, and the thought processes behind the decisions of how they did the GDKP ban, talking about the new PvP zone down in Stranglethorn Valley, the Blood Moon one, and some of the changes that they've had to implement already, and the thinking behind why they developed it that way versus what they had done in phase 1. Very interesting. Great read.
A quick question.
Yeah.
Has anyone here played PvP in Season of Discovery? Because I haven't. I only got my warrior to level 22, but I was busy with other stuff. But like, I'm curious, how is the PvP there compared
Honestly,
to retail?
I haven't had time to do it. Jake, I think you were playing some, right?
I didn't actually get to end level, to be honest with you. I mean, it's pretty bad to say, but yeah, I didn't get to end level. So no, I'm not doing anything really. I think from what I've heard, it's great. I've heard it's fantastic. So but again, it's not like, I don't think it's anything like we've ever really experienced before. So I think it's going to be an interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, unfortunately, I haven't. Eddie, have you done any Season of Discovery?
To be honest, I kind of promised my brother to do it like as a family reunion thing, but I actually kind of got turned off by all the runic thing, or you enchant your legs with power-ups. Because I was actually a big lover of what's called hardcore. I actually play that a lot. So I felt like I would play SOD a lot, but yeah, I don't know. I never really got into it. Maybe I will. It looks okay. Like, not too boring, I guess.
All right. How about you, Big? Do you have time to play it? I know you're pretty busy with videos and everything.
No, but I heard Shadow Priests are pretty good and mages are pretty good, so it sounds like a good game. I mean, I like those classes.
Mm.
Just not resto druids in that game. All right.
Mm.
Yeah. So unfortunately, I not a lot of experience there, but I'd say from again, the feedback I've heard, it's fun. The most recent PvP did have some issues around. I want to say it was around the graveyards and some graveyard camping, as well as some issues with the NPCs and that. But I'm pretty sure they fixed those pretty quickly and got rid of that. So yeah. Druid macros. So if anybody knows, for druids, there was a macro that you could use that turned off shape shifting. So, for case in point, if you're, let's say, a bear druid, you could cast regrowth without shifting out of bear form, and it was a really cool macro. A lot of druids were using it because if you shift out of bear form, you get stunned and you die. So great. That broke. It was a stealth change that wasn't announced anywhere. So there has been a thing on Wowhead about it. I haven't heard a response yet, if that was an oopsies or if that was intentional. I'm not. What do you guys think? Do you think this was an intentional change, or do you think somebody messed up something?
It's Blizzard, so there's always potential for messing up.
Yeah.
I don't mean that in like an offensive way. It's just I don't blame the developers. I blame that's a whole other thing. I'm sorry.
No worries. No, I think you have acknowledged at one point there is that we have humans at Blizzard that are making this game. Humans make mistakes all the time. Nobody's infallible. So yeah, stuff happens.
It's just like, it's not always quality assurance's fault. Sometimes they just don't get the proper support or ears that they need.
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. It could have been somebody made a coding change, so who knows?
I'm reading this. This macro seems pretty harmless. Like, it just seems like it's obviously a Mythic Plus thing. Like, you don't want to shift out of bear to try to regrow someone out of range, and it shifts you out. Like, it seems bad. So I don't know. And plus, like, Guardian Druids aren't exactly meta right now in Mythic Plus, so I don't know. Kind of a weird change.
I think it's like, of course, it's just a casual mistake, nothing like that. I think the hardest part for the devs, and I really love every developer. Shout out to, if you are developing anything, you're working out, shout out to you, because it's an unforgiving job. You're always eating the blame. But I would say the best thing they could do is just increase the communication from the community to the development. Right now, as a demon hunter, if you're Night Elf, if you bind Glimpse and Shadow Mill together, you press that button, you will now have the Glimpse buff immunity while running on the ground. This has been in here for so long. You can make 1 million tickets, and one dev can probably fix it in 2 minutes because it's one little variable he needs to change. But we just can't like get the message across. And I think that is like the hardest part for Blizzard. So when they're fixing these things, it's just it's just mistakes in communication. Honestly, I don't think it's the developer's fault.
Jake, what day are we up to on Twitter with asking for a PvP dev?
I think that is 177. I think, yeah,
okay.
177.
I take that road.
Yeah, I've been doing that for 177 days. I'm fairly sure.
I think that was today.
I think that was the latest one. I think it's essentially half a year. I think. Oh no, I'm wrong. 174. I overestimated. I think it's communication is really key. To be honest with you, they were really good for a little while, but what they really need more than anything is a dedicated person. Now, I think Microsoft might do that because Microsoft's got a lot of money to throw around. But from what I've started to learn more and more of businesses nowadays is that they cut costs as much as possible to line pockets. So
maximize profits.
Okay,
maximize those profits because that's all that they care about. So I think at the end of the day, I'm going to keep going, and I will keep going. I expect one day to be at a BlizzCon with a sign up for 500 days probably, and I'm fine with that. Like I said that I'm going to do that, and that's what I'm going to do. So hopefully they'll put me out of my misery and actually get someone But I think that at that point, I think we'll sort of know a bit more and we'll have a bit more input. I just think they're currently going through a massive change at the minute, and we're just not getting the communication that necessarily that SOD is getting. They've got very vocal devs, and I think that's wonderful. I am actually really happy that SOD has such lovely devs looking after them, and that people are enjoying it and getting the feedback they do.
Ditto.
Yeah.
I just wish we had the same. That's all.
Of course.
Yeah. I think last point, just in news. So I don't know if anybody realizes, but Radar.io has actually been doing a full spectrum coverage on all the esports. Not only are they the website that's supporting and doing all the brackets and signups and everything, but as the esports are growing, they actually have a live blog that they run and cover all the events and do not quite play by play, but definitely match by match and stuff like that. So they were on Twitter. They did a poll asking to get some feedback. It was a very short poll. I think it was only like 24 hours long, asking for feedback on what they've done. That said, it's on Twitter. So while you can't vote on the poll anymore, if you have read or paid attention to their or even like go back now and realize what they've done, they're looking for feedback. So go over there and give it to them, because that will only help them.
I will say this. Someone in my Twitch chat or my friend's Twitch chat did mention that if Andalor the Paladin spoke for AWC, was an announcer for AWC, they would be more likely to watch it. So I'm just going to throw that out there.
I would love to. I would love to hear Andalor the Paladin do showcasting for a game. That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. All right. Speaking of shouts, actually, right to you, Drew. Shout out. Do you have any shout outs you'd like to give before we shut this out?
To other people, right?
Yep.
Easy Game L on Twitch and Barn Door as well. I am a video editor for both of them for YouTube, and Barn Door he focuses mostly on arenas nowadays, but Easy Game is one of the few Twitch streamers that's trying to keep RBGs alive. So if you could support him, that'd be good.
By all means, I do like Easy. Easy, a good guy. Eddie, any shout outs you want to give?
For sure. I want to shout out to Drew. If he's making the videos, respect for that. I'm sure you're not getting paid a lot for that, so thank you. Shout out to Bobby DK1. He was on your show as well. He's streaming a lot of EU games every day, like for 8-9 hours. Shout out to SVTV, aka Evidence, the best rogue in the game. He streams both all the NA high, like all the top games from NA and EU. So like really just a shout out to everyone, Easy Game as well. We tell like everyone who tries to help the community, because right now we are what's keeping it alive. It is the community. So yeah, and shout out to also Method, everyone who did the tournaments, to Void GG, like all the people who actually tries to put heart into this bracket and yeah, keep it alive.
I like that. All of that. Big. Any shout outs you want to give?
Future shout out to the developer who is going to nerf Havoc Demon Hunter at the end of this week. That's going to happen. Mark my words. Mark my words. We're going to see some hot fixes tomorrow. Shout out to that person. Okay.
Whoever that person is, they're going to need more than luck. They need Jesus, because but who wants that job?
Stroke of a pen. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
But like it's the abuse that like someone in that position gets.
No. That's what happens when you nerf warriors. It's the warrior mains that get really angry on Twitter. They're the worst ones.
Indeed. Jay, your shoutouts.
Yeah, so I am going. You know what? I'm going to shout out Helinka because I don't think we knew how good we had it, and now I'm saying that from a point of view of that we've slowly and surely gotten less and less and less. And I think we as a community were little children a long time ago. And I think it was nice to have people that actually cared about what we care about. So shout out to him for whatever he's doing.
He's off making another game with Ghostcrawler.
Yeah.
So Yeah,
if it's got good PvP.
I think it will. I think it will. I'm going to give a shout out to the Ruthless Renegades. So they're a epic BG community that do pre-mades almost every night, Alliance NA side. They are an excellent community, very positive. They do not handle toxicity. They don't even accept it one iota, and are very diverse and very accepting of people. And I will say they are an absolutely amazing community. And what they've built is, it's what I wish for every PvP community to be like. I'll just say that. But yeah, they're amazing. So, all right, I think that's it. Full final outro. Drew, pimp your stuff. Where can people find you on the interwebs?
Wait, do I link it or do I just say it?
Just say it.
Okay. You can find me on Twitch at DrewDynamite. Also on YouTube at DrewDynamite, where I do funny RBG review videos and other funny PvP videos, and Andalore the Paladin. So find me there, and also on Twitter.
That's awesome. All right, Eddie, where can people find you on the interwebs?
You can find me at Twitch TV, EddyLol1. Sometimes I stream. I'm not that consistent. I stream like a few times a week. Twitter, EddyLol, wow. I don't really use Twitter. So come on Twitch, come say hello, and that's about it there, I guess.
Love it. All right, Big, you get to do the fun part.
Oh, I will do the fun part. Okay, so if you want to contact us directly, you can do so with a tweet to @technically_PvP or by an email to technicallypvp@gmail.com. You can also join our discussions on the Bonus Rolls production Discord.
And you can also visit the Bonus Roll website to find the podcast directory with us and many other great shows at www.bonusroll.gg. This directory also has a review system, so head on over there and tell everyone what you think of your favorite shows, including our own.
Indeed. And as always, links for everything we talked about are going to be in the show notes. Well, thank you all for listening, first of all, and we'll chat with you next time. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
See ya.
Good night.
Peace.